Hi, I'm Jess, and I'm here with Tracy Sekhon. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about the changes that we've had to go through this COVID-19 pandemic. And I know that we're not alone, and so it's a really great time for us to, just take the stage and talk about it. So Tracy's been gracious enough to meet with me today. Thanks, Tracy.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
I've been working on this business called Kala Evolution for the last couple of years, and Kala Evolution is a coaching company. I'm a business coach, and what I do is I mentor and I train business owners to create operations and systems within their organization so that it can function better. So Tracy and I have been working together for the last little while on ARTC, and ARTC is an organization that serves the autism community. So I want to introduce Tracy today. Tracy is the owner of ARTC, Autism Resource and Treatment Center. Hi, Tracy. Happy to have you today.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what had you open ARTC?
So ARTC is a nonprofit organization, and the goal of the nonprofit is to bring resources and treatments for all ages on the autism spectrum under one roof. And we opened the doors last year, at the very end of last year, as we were getting all of our services put into place. So the way that this all began is I'm an autism mom, and with 2 kiddos on the spectrum and now 9 years of experience in this autism arena, I've learned that we all need a place to go where we can get what we need. And services are only part of the equation. It's families and support and siblings, and seeing that this is not just a kiddo on the spectrum. This is a family that's affected by autism. So I had this big audacious dream to bring all of those services and support together under one roof, where people could come through our doors and know that they were at their home away from home, and that we understood them, and that there was a lot of people there going through the same thing that they were going through, and they didn't have to look any further to get what they needed in order to improve what was happening in their families. So last year, I started, putting our providers in place and developing a community of service providers. So we've just have been, continuing before this COVID pandemic happened. We were continuing to put all of those services in place so that we could serve our families.
Yeah, so tell our audience a little bit about where you're located and what the center looks like, and kind of the vision for how many providers are there and what its function is.
Sure. So the center is located in Rancho Bernardo, and we have 7,600 feet there, and it's it's pretty, yes, it's big. It's we have a conference center, a parent lounge. We have an early intervention and elementary wing where we provide ABA, speech, occupational therapy. We're implementing educational supports. We have a resource center for all of our professionals, as well as our parents. We have chiropractic from Dr. Tullius. We have psychologist. We have psychologists who are doing assessments and diagnosis through Aspiring Families. We have family fitness coaching. We have an attorney. We have finance. We have supported living services and residential living services. We're starting a day program. So you can see there's, whatever a family may need, it is our goal to provide at least a piece of that. And if in fact we can't do that all at the center, then we want to be able to, with our collaborations and relationships within the community, to give proper direction to those families.
That's so awesome. And I've been watching you grow and develop, and it's just a miracle to see what you've been able to pull together. I mean, you really are like a network of resources, and anyone who has the opportunity to talk to you is very privileged. So I have been privileged to have that honor a lot over the last couple of years, and I'm just in awe by this group of people that you've brought together who have a tremendous skill set and a work ethic. And, it's really like all of our community members who just are very connected at the heart. And so that's the type of provider that you're bringing together. And that really creates a great opportunity for our families. And what we're discovering, especially in North County, is that we have a huge need with our school age and adolescent and even our young adults. Those are the families who are just a great support at ARTC to be able to access the services that those providers are putting together. So, can you tell us a little bit about what was happening spring 2020 as you were looking at the next stage now that you've got all these providers in place?
So we were planning our grand opening celebration, which was supposed to happen on April 4th. Of course, that couldn't happen, but our goal with that was to bring the community together and open up our doors so that they could get, they could see what we're doing there. They could get a real life view of the center as a whole. And, we wanted to celebrate the creation of these human focused providers. So you mentioned that, we've brought together some pretty amazing people, and you're right. The people who are at the center are there because they really love serving this community. And so I'm feeling very fortunate as well. We were also planning our second annual ARTC auction for autism. And we started this last year at Bernardo Winery, which is in our community, and had a great evening of food, drink, and fundraising for the center. And we were really looking forward to that with new entertainment and so forth. And of course, we had to postpone that as well. So it looks like that's not going to happen this year, but that's okay. We continue to forge on and know that that's going to be something we can continue to do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, those are really exciting events, and I know all the community is looking forward to putting it together and for participating. So the reason that we wanted to talk today was to talk about the pandemic. And one of the big business focuses that we're shifting toward is talking about businesses that are really going through a change right now. Well, all businesses are having to adapt and go through change, but some businesses are just frankly not going to make it.
Right.
There are some opportunities available for some businesses, but not all businesses, and those opportunities might not be timely enough for business to stay afloat.
Right.
So one of the big topics that we're just delving right into is, in order for a business to shift through this time, they have to have two main functions. And these functions are ways to market, ways to get your message out there. And the other one is to be innovative, because we're dealing with a pandemic. We don't have the same ability to be face-to-face and to be having all the conversations that you were having. So I want to just, talk about your ways of being impacted by COVID-19. And really, I want you to think back to that period just a few weeks ago when we were really restricted. And suddenly we really had to start distancing ourselves, and how that affected you first. And then I'd like you to start moving into some of the shifting that you've created in your marketing and innovation ideas.
Sure. So, this, I think, was a lesson in flexibility going into crisis mode overnight. And, the whole purpose of the center is to bring people together. And so for me, it was really a hard thing to embrace the idea that we had to be so separate, because I know that the community really needs to be together now more than ever, but we can't. So how is it that we transition overnight and implement new ways of connecting? And we've really had to change the way that we're doing so many things. So many of the providers have implemented telehealth services, so they're still connecting with their patients and clients, and that has been somewhat effective. Some have had to completely stop their their business function for now until we can come back together, because some of these services are face to face, or required to be face to face, and
Mm-hmm.
in some cases telehealth just doesn't work. Chiropractic is still treating patients. They are considered an essential service. We do have ABA providers that are still providing essential services, and we have our psychologists doing that as well. But the rest of us are kind of having to hunker down, if you will, and recreate ourselves in a different way. So how are we doing that? Well, we're looking at moving forward. Who do we need to become in order to not only get our message out to what it is that we can provide, but how can we spread our wings and fly through this arena to, and open our eyes to what's possible. So we have not only the telehealth happening at this point, but our providers are developing things like webinars to educate the public on what they can do. So we have so many different professional angles for this, in that our chiropractic is having webinars on neurological connection, brain body connection, if you will, and how it is that they can help them with with stress during this time, because of course many of us are going through a really stressful period. We've got counseling services that are still happening in that telehealth arena, but also webinars being produced in that for that too. We have entire series that are being developed. So behind the scenes, our providers are still working really hard to at least educate and provide something of value to the community. So we haven't gone to sleep. We just are doing it differently now. And I believe that we're going to come out of this stronger than ever.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one thing that you always say is ARTC thinks outside of the box.
Yes.
And that's really come to fruition, as you've had to step into just doing things outside of the box. And I think that comes from your history of being a mother and
Right.
really adapting to the needs of your boys. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing with our audience what that experience has been like for you as a mother, transitioning into homeschooling and having the need for special needs supports at home.
Sure. So I have two kiddos, opposite ends of the spectrum. So my older is high functioning and able to manage a schedule pretty well, and has the desire just to get everything done now, so that he doesn't have to worry about it. And my younger is more moderate on the spectrum and needs a lot of support. So, we have, and in different educational periods in their life too. So older in middle school, younger in elementary school. So we have, 6 teachers for one and 4 teachers for another, and schedules coming at us from both of those, and some optional and some required, and some Zoom and some not. And it's just been crazy putting that all together in a manageable system that works for them as well as us. So, we learned early on through this process of, helping our children through autism, that flexibility is key. And that is really, it is absolutely true these days, especially when we're learning that, they're so very different in their ways of processing information in their learning processes and so forth, that we just have to be really, really flexible with them. So I feel for those families that have, more than 1 or 2 children in a household that are trying to manage through not only the special education arena of this transition, but also with those other kiddos that still need time and attention. It's a very, very difficult thing to manage.
Yeah, it is. And I see that that's the, your real calling in life is to create this center, because you've had the perspective from that motherhood to see what's needed for your boys. And that really casts a great light into the needs of other families. And it's just great to hear you be able to speak as a mother and be able to relate to other parents who are going through the same experience, and then to see what you're putting together as far as creating solutions to just do autism better.
Right.
So if I were a parent and I wanted to stay connected to what's going on in the center and really watch your innovation and marketing come to fruition, what could I do to stay connected?
Sure, sure. So we do have a mailing list, and if you just stay in the know with us, meaning, click on the link and add your name and email address, then we can keep you posted on all of our upcoming events, our webinars, and so forth. So we have a lot of really great information and supports coming out. And we'll continue through this process until our shelter in place is lifted and we can be together in the center. We'll be together in many ways, in as many ways as we can, meaning virtual connection, email connection, and so forth. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time today to have this discussion with me, and I hope that it really helps the families that who need it the most.
thank you. Absolutely, my pleasure.
All right. Thanks.